What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Game Dev Unchained, the #1 game development podcast about game development and the lifestyle thereof. I am your host, Brandon Pham, and with me, once a month, our special guest, Ray Graham. How you doing, Ray?
What's up? What's happening?
All right, I hear you, but I don't see you, which also means we're about to do the Roundtable news episode. Here we go. Oh. Roundtable news episode again is when we once a month go around the game developer campfire to talk about the latest and greatest news that affects game developers such as yourself. And again, as a forewarning, try not to get us fired. This is our opinions of our own and not reflective of our company. So, Ray, it's been a while. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm hanging in here.
All right.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to talk about this, but this kind of popped up last week. Axie Infinity. I know the hottest topic, I think the last couple of Roundtable news, we kind of spent it towards talking about how NFT, crypto, all this stuff is kind of sneaking to the game stratosphere. It's becoming a hot topic, not just among game developers and gamers, but investors are heavily looking onto that as a way to kind of push forward their objective, whether it being initiative about money or fun. We are here and waiting to know. But the first topic that's being popped up right now that I think is worth sharing is a little game called Axie Infinity. I think you were the first one to kind of point me towards this game. But for those who don't know about it, can you kind of give a little summary of what it is in a nutshell? I know you haven't played it, but you probably know more about it
than me, actually. It's an NFT game. Boom.
Is it like Pokemon? Is it like
it looks like it's basically Pokemon, right? And the actual Pokemon that you get are these Axies that are these characters. I don't know what they're called. Maybe they're called Axies. I don't know. That are basically NFTs, right? And you play and you earn tokens. You earn the cryptocurrency as you're playing. It's funny. Somebody else put me onto this after we spoke, and put me onto. There's a documentary about how in certain, I think it's in the Philippines, there's a huge community of people that play Axie Infinity as a way of making actual money, like it's their job. And then there's people that run Axie universities that employ people to play Axie Infinity. So that they can like make money to pay their living expenses. It's actually crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those firsts that made it really big and is catching a lot of attention. We're talking about in the billions of revenue here, and it being a pretty relative game. We're talking about within maybe a year or two, right? Maybe even just a year. Came out of nowhere, and especially had a really fun origin story. It came from the Philippines, right? There's a lot of interest there, and people overall are always rooting for the little guys getting rich, right? So now you have investors, you have game developers who are enjoying it, and obviously gamers who are buying it. They're spending the money. At least that's what we think, right? Who knows? Maybe it's a shadow company buying all this to kind of get us all hyped up. But it's working, you know? So all is dandy, correct? Right? Well, up until last month, I think. So last month, there was major hack. We're talking about not just penny worth, but $600 million of someone kind of hacking. And you kind of sent me this story before I actually looked into it. Can you kind of give me like a little summary of what happened here?
Yeah, actually, I read a more detailed story of it more recently, and so like like you hear about a hack, and you're like, I thought blockchain and all this kind of stuff was unhackable, and it turns out they didn't actually hack the blockchain. They hacked some bridge software that is kind of like a side chain.
They wrote a network.
On the network. So it was like a side chain on the network, and they were able to take control of a couple of the authorization nodes in that chain. And through normal means, they did it through, like, when I say normal means, they did it through like social engineering stuff, like, so like phishing attacks and things like that. And took over control of these nodes, and then were able to siphon off the money into their own accounts. So yeah, and it turned out it was like a breach. It was like a vulnerability that they just left there. That they basically they forgot about how vulnerable that
Yeah.
vulnerable
That
area.
dude is definitely
And,
fired.
and
Yeah.
somebody and somebody just rolled up in there and drained it. You know.
Yeah, it's important to kind of note, like, yeah, they're a billion-dollar company in 2021. This happened in 2021, um, maybe late last year, but it was the same year they raised over 152 million dollars in Series B funding. So that's
Mm,
pretty much all that funding gone.
yeah.
I don't know if it's it's comforting to know that the technology is still sound, right? It's just a little loophole on the side, so you can't completely blame the developers of not being able to like fight this and but I think not everyone digged into the story as much as you did. I think everyone just read the headlines and it's like, oh, I told you this technology is not sound, this technology doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Well, definitely,
So
yeah, definitely people with the headlines. There's a combination of just, the Nelson laugh from
yeah,
Simpsons, and
yeah, yeah,
and a whole lot of like good for you, and then people just went on with their lives.
yeah.
But then yeah, like I was reading a story that went into a little bit more detail, and it's like, yeah, it's not exactly it's not exactly like a hack on the actual blockchain, but at the end of the day, losing $600 million isn't $600 million, right? So
Yeah, that's a lot, man. That's like more than the highest heist ever on Earth. It's one of the biggest. $600 million. When was the last time you heard heist? Like, you have Hollywood movies that don't even steal that much. Like
yeah,
Ocean's 11 only stole like what, 50 mil or something. So how do you think this overall affects that space? Right? Is this just validating a lot of the naysayers? Is this
I
making a lot of people take a step back,
I
investors
think
wise?
well, I think there was a drop, right, in the value of the currency, right? There was a pretty big drop, but I feel like over the long term, I think this is just kind of like a blip, right? And like I think there's somebody they was quoted, like they're like, hey, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
And then they're like, man, this is cryptocurrency. 20% drop is nothing to us, right? Right? Like
yeah,
they were just kind of played it off like, oh, who cares, right? Like we'll solve it and it'll be okay. So like they don't seem to be too stressed about it, right? And I think, yeah, I think the money is gone, right? So it's really just about, make the close the security loophole and not happen again, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm always wondering, like, with this type of thing, every few often we keep it's the talk of the town, right? This is what we've been kind of talking about. It's when if you're an investor, you're trying to get your game invested, you have to have some kind of NFT and blockchain technology. It's the thing, it's the trend, it's what these guys, like you said before, come into the room with like notes, and basically they have to as part of where they want to put the funding in. This is a space that their investors, or who they're representing, are heavily telling them like this is where you need to be. So it's making
Yeah.
it very difficult. And even with this, yeah, I think like you said, there is some kind of small setback, but overall business as usual. I think by talking and still interviewing with a lot of people, it's still the thing around. And I'm not sure. Have you changed your feelings the more you read on it? Is it still swaying towards this is BS so far?
I don't even know if I'm gonna say it's BS, but I just like I'll just freely admit I don't see the point. I don't get it, and I don't understand how so much money is being generated. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just don't get it. Um, but somebody's making money. So
Well, I mean, it seems like the developers of this game and hackers of this game are making a shitload of money. So what happens there? Like at heists like that, they're kind of broke off clean. I mean, the technology itself is untraceable. Is this the fear
yeah.
that coming true? Like it's
Well,
gone. That's the way
that's
it is.
yeah, that's the problem with it, right? It's very easy to steal, right? So once you get in and are able to steal somebody's cryptocurrency, it's there's
You
no
don't
way.
even launder money at that point,
Yes,
right?
yeah. There's no way you're gonna get it back, right? So like there's quotes saying like the chances of recovery are low, right? They just it's very rare that the funds actually get returned, right? Because they're not going to be able to find who has those funds, and they're probably distributed to 100 different places at this point, right?
Well, is that something that's ever going to be fixed? Or is it just that's just what the technology is? Like, is this something like regulations? Well, like you said before, as soon as you have regulation, what's the point? It becomes regular currency. That's
Yeah,
the so that never will be an alternative to kind of circumvent these
yeah.
hacks.
I'm not expert in any of this at all, right? But from my understanding, it's like that's kind of the feature, right? Is that it's not very traceable and that it's decentralized, and
Everything else.
that's why people are not really big fans of it, right? Because it's very easy for criminals and people to use it.
Yeah. It sounds like we need to get into hacking crypto. That sounds like the
No,
perfect crime, man.
no, but here's the thing too. You're like hacking like it was a hard thing, right? It was they literally just did what a lot of hackers do. It was just like
They
social
find a
engineering,
side door open.
social engineering attack. Like send somebody a random ass email or a random ass link, and then that person clicks on it, and then it's game over. You know what I mean? So
So is it most hacks are kind of like that, where like the
yeah,
Apple hack was just like trying to
yeah,
fake a fake email about your username and password, and they found a
yeah.
side door. That's it. There's no
Yeah,
like
like
crazy.
most like people have this vision in their head of like hackers like doing some sophisticated thing and breaking into an account or cracking some really hard to crack password or something like that. Most of the time people just give them their password, right? Through clicking on phishing links in emails and text messages, right? Most of the time it's that. It's not hard, like it's not some crazy super brain computer stuff going on most of the time. You know what I mean?
I can do that. I'm really good with graphic design. Like everything you're telling me, like I can do this. I can make things look like forgery on emails easily, man.
Yeah, and the thing too, a lot of those phishing attacks are so bad, like they're not
Yeah,
even
pretty
remotely
obvious.
believable, right? It's just
Well, the one that's popular now with game developers is the one that says like, "Hey, Riot Games wants to hire you. Use that." You heard of that one, right? You're
no,
used.
I've heard of that
Man,
one.
I receive those emails like every few often, and it's email representing a company that's highly desirable, and it lists like, "Oh, you were looking for a concept artist," and Phil, go ahead and send us your info, and we go through like this app. I forget what it's called. It's like teleprompter or something, right? It's like a third party app, and that's where we conduct an interview.
Yeah,
And so I have a friend of a friend that actually fell through it. He was applying for Riot, but he went as far as sending his checking account for the first deposit. Yeah, went that far, and they take it and they take the money out, and
yeah.
it's
I mean,
been going on all
they would
COVID.
have to have all sorts of other information to take the money out.
Yeah,
That's
they.
crazy.
I mean, apparently they gave it either through PayPal or something. But like that's the thing,
Why are you
and
giving
that's been
Riot?
going out for game developers this whole time. I got like 4 different ones throughout the last year. Yeah,
Why are you giving Riot your checking account? That sounds crazy.
I know, right? I was laughing at him the whole time, but like, there's. I guess it's working because they haven't stopped. And the
Yeah.
emails, it's the emails that you see, right? It's literally Riot Games Online, right? So,
Mhm.
like HR at Riot Games Online. I was like, all right, that's not a real email account. That's how you kind of sniff it out. But
Yeah.
it's most of the scam. It really is. It seems like most people fall kind of for the simple ones right there, just voluntarily. Well, I mean, if you watch like all those con documentaries, right, on Netflix, right, it usually is silent like that. And the awesome thing, and hey, we're not here to celebrate con artists or people who like cheat people, but
sounds like you're celebrating them.
There's a respect. Well, I mean, I gotta say that, right? But like, there is like low bar respect for these people because. It's the perfect crime. A lot of that is like voluntary, right? They plan it out so that you're volunteering information, and by the end of it, if you are kind of caught, quote unquote, right, the punishment is very minimal because in the end, the person was willingly going along with the con.
Yeah.
So smart.
I just watched Bad Vegan. And
Bad Vegan. It's always the same. It's like.
Yeah,
but it was that one, and then the Tinder Swindler was really good. The Tinder Swindler, and it was like the same pattern. It was like
that dude is out and he's doing
the same shit. Yeah,
he's like selling classes now for something. Like it's crazy.
Man, sign me up, bro. Like there's a certain skill to it, right? It's ridiculous, but like half of it is the perpetrator, and the other half is the willing. So. Mm-hmm. I know it's a piece of shit move, but at the same time, it's like
it's sick. Yeah, that's an understatement, man.
Yeah, but like there's a lot of stupid people, so I don't know. In a way, it's like
but like
learn through mistakes.
In both of those cases, like I think one of the interesting things about why it works is how they gain trust.
Yeah.
Right. And especially like,
and they create reliance.
In the case of both of those cases, I found a lot of things that were similar. And
very similar.
It was like show the person that you actually have money.
Yep.
So they when
buy
you ask
into
for
it
money,
completely.
when you ask for money, they're like, oh yeah, sure, he's rich. I'm gonna get my money back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Like they're not even sweating the money because they know you're good for it. Right. Meanwhile, you're showing them money from somebody else you swindled. You know what I mean, right? And so you're just using
like a Ponzi scheme.
Another swindle. It's basically a Ponzi scheme. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's just, oh my god, like
respect.
It's hard to call the people that fall for it stupid, right? Because it's such a long con of building respect.
Yeah, it's a long-term investment, exactly.
And manipulating the person, right?
It's like a stock. Yeah,
you just feel sorry. Oh, I'm not talking like how you talking, right? But I'm just saying, like, you just feel sorry for the person, like, because they just been fooled,
Oh yeah, you always feel sorry for the sucker, but then a big part of you is like, well, I mean, you're pretty dumb. Why you keep?
There's no big part. It's all of it is. Oh man, that's
yeah. So there's definitely
so bad.
Like a line that you cross where when that person like committed so much, right?
Yeah.
And there's just like no place of no point of return, right? They feel so guilty about how far they got fooled. Where like that little finishing part seems to be, why not I just go all the way through? Yeah. It's so good, man. It reminds me a lot about crypto and NFT because a lot of it is just people buying into it, into the hype, right? And I mean the whole system is based on hype. Right, it's the idea that the value goes up because people believe in it, which is, I mean, I guess in a way, it's kind of like
it's speculation, right?
It's very speculative, yeah.
Very very speculative, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, people argue the U.S. currency is kind of like that, where there is no gold reserves that kind of equals in value, right? A lot of it's just IOUs, and because the people still believe in it, the value is still in it, but we have actual regulations behind it and make it harder for criminal to at least work towards laundering money. Because you watch Ozark, right? And there's a lot of effort put into laundering money. So there's respect behind it. I was like, well, at least these guys are working hard for their stolen money. But in a case where it's like NFT and currency like this, like crypto, it's like, wow, so you just find a username and password and you get $600 million. How awesome is that? Like no effort, just hide it in the ether.
It's not awesome, but anyway.
It's awesome, man. I don't condone it. I don't want to do it. I hate anyone that does it. But this is what movies are made out of, right? There's a glorified,
Well, it's definitely could be a movie. That's for
definitely a
like
movie, bro.
I think
$600 million.
yeah,
That's
we're
crazy,
fascinated.
dude.
Yeah, we're fascinated by that kind of stuff, right? But it's just yeah, it's just it's so
Took
crazy.
people like 10 years plus to accumulate a billion. Someone just spent like 2 afternoons just stealing someone's username and became a $600 million millionaire. That's crazy. Anyways, I mean that's Axie Infinity. I mean, at least it sounds like the technology was sound. It was just some stupid shit on the sideline, which I guess most hacks are kind of created that way.
Yep.
I am always interested. I still have yet to kind of find someone that has really convinced me, at least on the seller point of view, not the seller, the buyer point of view, where these investments in NFTs in the stupid profile picture and there, like, what exactly is the end game for that? Are they really imagining that they own this and then in some kind of virtual world later that it becomes useful? I did hear one rumor though. Let me kind of pull this up. I don't know if it's true, but I did see it pop up that Meta bought Linden Lab. Did you hear about this at all?
What? I did not hear that. Did I hear that? Wait, maybe I heard it. No.
I don't know if it's true. Here, let me pull it up. But so Linden Lab is the creator of Second Life. Funny enough, the original
Oh,
metaverse.
the first news story I hear about that is on the April 1st, so maybe not.
Ah, it is April 1st. You're right. You got me fooled. Yeah, April 1st. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Oh my god.
I-
Well, Second Life isn't even online anymore, right? So
yeah, like I just checked Reddit and then people say this was an April Fool's joke.
yeah, it got me. Never mind, guys. False news. Yeah, I mean, it would have been cool. I think it would have been a smart move if they did something like that. Um, I mean, let's talk about it a bit, right? So, I've been listening to more interviews, trying to figure this out, see if I still hate Zuckerberg or not. I mean, every interview, every talks about the metaverse, uh, it's all like interim steps, it seems, right? So, what I've heard and what I've seen is that they're, like you said, a long time ago, that they're looking at it the long game. So, do they have the funds to kind of stretch that far? Do they have the backing of their their main investors to kind of be patient with them? The stockholders, to ride that with them. Uh, I've been hearing a lot with Magic Leap, right? Lately, they just released some kind of prototype. Let me kind of pull that up while I talk about this. They said they kind of pulled up a prototype that's been kind of hopefully it's not an April 1st thing again. Jesus. Yeah, Magic Leap 2 aims to bring AR business. It looks it looks decent, man. Let me try
No,
to pull this up right now.
no,
No, I mean
no.
that's
Those are
a lot
still
lighter than other prototypes here.
sure.
No, you still don't feel anything for this?
Mm-mm. No.
You were original supporter of this. Why the change of heart, Arson?
I was
Because
an
they almost went bankrupt.
original. I was an original supporter. I said I tried it. I thought it was kind of cool, but they have to come a long way, right, to reduce the size of it and the coolness factor. These are definitely smaller than the bug-eyed
Yeah,
ones, the bug-eyed glasses. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um,
They
and
still look stupid.
they are focused still though on like business, right?
Yeah, enterprise
On
companies.
selling it to enterprise and not actual consumers. And so maybe that's the right play. It's still yeah, it's still $2,000 that the thing costs. You know what I mean? Um,
So is it really just gonna be Apple that's gonna really finally cement
who
this technology to everyone? The AR.
who? Yeah, I have no idea, man. Because like I hear rumors and stuff about Apple stuff. I hear the rumors, but like I have no idea. Like who knows? It could just be another. it could just be like another HoloLens and not be very useful, right? So who knows where they're going with it. Um, but it's, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not.
You're just not convinced about
Yeah, I
what's
think
going on with that space right now.
yeah, I think we have a long way to go still. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So do you think the Meta and what they're doing over there are still the leader? I mean, we see like what the overall market, we see the kind of like Steam users in terms of like what VR devices they're using, and Oculus have been kind of topping the charts more and more. You don't really
Mhm,
hear about the Steam one as much,
mhm.
much less with the Vive, right? There's not really any VR headsets out there that's kind of dominating as much.
No, because I already told you, I think the future is tether, tetherless
Yeah.
VR AR, right? It has to. There's no wires. You're just walking around, and stuff is like doing its thing, right? So that's why Oculus Quest is so big, right? Like I think it's an amazing device. But in terms of what they're like to get it to mass adoption, consumer type of levels, there still needs to be so much more miniaturization and coolness factor added to the thing. You know what I mean? And battery life and performance and all those things come into play. It's like doing that in such a small form factor is like really really hard. You know what I mean? And like, does Facebook have the money just kind of stretch it out? Sure, but at the end of the day, the investors want to see them making some sort of headway. Eventually. I don't know how long they could drag it out and try to figure out what they're doing, right? But like, as we go every year, there's new advances every year. Things get smaller and lighter, right? So maybe eventually we will get to that place, and everything's just a step along the curve towards the thing that will make it all more mainstream. But do the investors have the appetite to spend that much time and money is the question, right?
Yeah, and I think it all boils down to software. Right now, software to me have been really lacking, man. We don't hear anything about that at all.
Mhm.
We hear devices here and there, but like, what has been the hottest software since Half
well,
Life?
well,
Um,
it's crazy. It's crazy. So a friend of mine is the CTO at a company that they make a game called Zenith. It's a VR MMO game, and that game's doing very well. And it's a VR game, MMO, multiplayer that you play with a bunch of people.
what is it called? Xena?
Uh, Zenith.
Xena.
Yeah, and if you Google it too, I think the first news item you're going to see is that they recently received like some
I did
funding,
hear about that. Yeah.
right? So that is crazy, right? So somebody games being, 35 million, right? So
Yep.
the game is being successful and getting funding so that it could continue to grow and build and be a long tail thing, right? So it's getting a lot of attention, right?
Yeah. And what's interesting is that it needs something like this to build the metaverse. Like everyone, I think, I was reading actually, funny enough, I forget his name, but the guy who created Second Life behind Linden Lab since left.
Mm.
No, obviously he was a what do you call it? A pioneer, right, in that space with Second Life. He wanted to build a virtual world. He wanted to make in-game economy. He wanted people to kind of live and be able to make money off of that completely, right? And when asked about what suddenly, back when they were popular, not a lot of people were talking about, but suddenly, all the tech companies are interested in the metaverse 20 years later, what his thoughts were. And his commentary was interesting because he pretty much says what a game developer would say is like, they're making these things and wanting to throw advertisement everywhere around you. But the whole soul of the metaverse is the game part. People want to go in there to play, and they stay because of wanting the fun that they're having with their friends, right?
Yeah,
And right
I
now the
I don't
game loop
necessarily
isn't there for.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it necessarily needs to be a game, but it just needs to be something that people enjoy interacting with other people in, right?
Right.
So game of
There's
course
things
is
to do. Yeah.
game is the easy thing to say, hey, we're having fun doing this. But
Yeah.
most folks want to like monetize it to the point where it is everything, right? It's a part of your life, right? um that's kind of where a lot of the hype comes from. It isn't from, oh, we're going to play some games so that's how we're going to make a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
It's literally from, we expect 5 billion people on earth to be in these virtual worlds. Like that's the kind of scale that they're trying to say is going to be the future,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, this is better than what the meta team's doing, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
not. It's like it's
Yep.
WoW, which
It's
is
an
not
MMO.
bad, right? It's better
It's
than.
MMO.
Yeah, I don't think MMOs. I don't know, man. There's a certain level where if you want to, I guess you got to start small.
Yep.
I mean,
And
it
that's
looks good. I
that's
mean,
that's
the
exactly
style
right.
is
That
fine. It is.
like
Yeah.
the game is out and got funding so they could double the studio, put more effort into the game, grow the game, you
Wait for
know,
the technology to grow so they can put more pixels. Yeah.
polish it up more, add more, like, like it's just, it's a live game, right? So it's going to be long tail, long
Yeah, that's good to know. Uh, I will say this, right? Also in the last month, another thing that kind of popped up
Yeah.
is a lot of talks about going back in the office, right? So this is the fear for a lot of studios employees who were comfortable at home, kind of are situated and uh, understanding like, hey, there's going to be a permanent home solution, right? Or at least a hybrid offer from my studio, my company. But what we're seeing more and more is that Facebook, Google, at least near term, are asking everybody to come back. Most of it making sure that vaccine mandated and all this stuff. But more importantly, I think today or Friday, Activision in particular, Activision Blizzard,
Oh, yeah.
had a walkout because there was the mandate for vaccines got uplifted, saying that you don't have to have the vaccine to return to the office, and there was an uproar, right? Everybody's like, I don't feel safe. You can't force us to go back. There should be a permanent solution for those who are not comfortable. And there was like 300 people walking out today, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Funny enough, being near each other. Hopefully, these are vaccinated protesters. Um, this is becoming more and more frequent. I guess there's like a bunch of questions I want to follow up with and what your thoughts are. But years ago, this was back when I started this podcast. It was kind of like scary to protest or have unions, or I mean, there were some walkouts here and there, but it wasn't as frequent, right? The last few years, it feels like it's more and more frequent for all sorts of reasons, mostly harassment. But now, because of COVID mandates and things like that, and funny enough, Activision Blizzard seems to be always in the crosshairs for every single one of those reasons. And there is a huge empowerment to employees now, more than ever before. People are not shy to express their opinions anymore. If anything, it completely flipped. I feel like corporations are so much more fearful of what they might say, how they convey themselves, knowing that there are huge whiplash effects through and by their actions, right? So
Mhm.
I guess what's your overall thought about this? Like, what was your feelings? Like, is this good? Right? Is okay? This could be
What's
dangerous. What
what's
do you think?
good? Like
I don't
what?
know. Just like the fact that people, if they feel not good about things, they can do walkouts and force whatever they
I
want.
feel
Okay.
okay. I feel it's a combination of things, right? I feel the youth of these days, the younger folks
Are
that
finding things to do.
are of this time,
Yeah.
just are gonna take less of the bullshit, right? There's that. And then I
Yeah.
think you combine that with pandemic,
Yeah.
2 years of pandemic, everybody's dying around you.
Yeah.
It gives you time to think about, like, what do I really want to do with myself,
Yep.
right? Is this really how I want to spend my time dealing with this bull, right? And so folks are just fed up, and right now, especially with companies are kind of looking for workers, and a lot of people have quit, the great resignation and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
Companies are like, oh no. And so then now is the time that you're seeing a lot of this stuff, because like the conditions are kind of right for it. And then especially if it's Activision Blizzard doing something, especially with the latest history, a
Yeah.
lot of people they're just completely fed up with Activision Blizzard, right? And so they're just like, another walkout, let's go, right? Because this is some bull, right? And they're trying to
It's
form a
like every
union,
Wednesday
right?
now. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're trying to form a union at Activision Blizzard, right? Um, so it's just more, it's fuel for that fire of like, oh, you really need to create this union, right? So, and especially around COVID, there are people that are, not comfortable go to the office with people that are not vaccinated. I personally think that is overblown, because if you're vaccinated, yes, like, chances are you will not get sick and die, but the other persons have way more risk. And if they choose, they want to put themselves at risk, well, who are you to say what they should do, right? I don't think it puts you at that much of a risk, other than maybe if you're vaccinated, maybe you get a little stuffy nose these days, right?
Yeah.
So like, I think being super concerned about that is really overblown. But if you want to walk out and demand better conditions for working, like, I can't be mad at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's unwrap that a bit. So first things first, I think I'm on the same page with you, right? Like, I've never understood the vaccination thing. I'm vaccinated, but like I didn't take the boosters, so I guess I'm kind of available for COVID. I did get COVID in January.
Yeah.
Kicked it in a couple days, but
Yeah.
spent like the rest of the weeks to quarantine. Um, and I thought that when you get vaccinated, you're more protected, right? I thought that that's the
Mhm.
theory. So why are you afraid of people who are not vaccinated? Because you might get it. I get that, but you should be less affected, right?
The other,
Person
yeah, the
is,
other argument though is, every time somebody gets infected with COVID, it gives it a chance to mutate, right?
you know,
So potentially there is a chance that, somebody unvaccinated gets COVID and then spreads it. They spread some new variation that is more deadly or more dangerous, or not protectable against, right? so
yeah,
far so far most of the variants, the vaccine is still effective against them. So it's like, chances that like chances that contagion will happen, like, and everybody will just drop dead instantly, is pretty low. But that is a risk, right, of further mutation.
yeah. I'm just at the
That's how
point where
science.
I,
That's,
I thought
that's
I
just
thought
how science
COVID is
works, man.
so 2021. You know what I mean? It's like
You're
the
like you're
Omicron, like wasn't the vaccinated people just spreading it the most? Like wasn't that the case? I was like,
no, that wasn't that wasn't the case, right? The main thing about vaccinations isn't it about it will stop you from getting the thing, right? It's about, it does lower your chances of getting the thing,
sure,
but it's about protecting you from
getting sicker.
serious illness, right?
Yeah,
So yeah.
but I do agree with you. Like I overall, I like people having the right to choose. I mean, I guess in a way, the vaccinated people are fighting for that too, right? They're fighting for their chance to choose to work in the office or not, or at home, right? The same way that I feel like non-vaccinated people, if they want to go in the office, they should be able to, right?
Mhm.
I don't think that's right. We're forcing them to do something that they don't feel comfortable with, um,
There's also
especially, yeah,
the aspect of having kids at home, kids that might be too young to be vaccinated.
yeah,
You end up being you're not sick, you're asymptomatic, you carry it home, make your kid sick, right? So there's an aspect of that too, right?
Yeah.
Where it could cause more spread, right? And so that's so people are concerned about this, right? Again, chances of this is like not low, but it's not. I mean, not high, but it's not like it's not zero. You know what I mean?
Right. And I
So
guess overall,
people are concerned about that. They're like, hey, we should do the smart things while it's still at the levels where we need to be concerned about it. We should do the smart thing. GDC just happened, right? And GDC,
everyone came back with COVID.
everybody's like, why are we having an in-person GDC? And lo and behold, a lot of people were like, yo, I got COVID. Like a lot of people got COVID.
Yeah, of course.
From GDC, right?
Yeah, dirty gamers, of course. That is the stickiest.
And of course, most of the people were vaccinated, and they were just kind of scratchy throats, and they were fine after a few days. But like it kind of showed like putting people into interior environments as if it's all good. There's still some risk there.
Yeah, like I don't want to make this episode a COVID episode, right? But I just want to comment on this, right? The itchy throat and it goes away. I hear that a lot more than people dying from it, right?
Yeah.
So, and I feel like, well, we can't just skim over that. You guys treat it like the plague. There is, I think at the beginning there's obviously precautions that had to be taken, but we're 2 years in. We have data now. You know, it's not the drop dead virus for a good percentage of the population. So it's unfair to keep treating it like that and treat unvaccinated people in a way where they're like sinning, right? I do feel like there's like a witch hunt on unvaccinated people right now. It's crazy when, you know, vaccinated people are spreading it just as much. So
spoken like a true person from Orange County.
Well, there you go. Hey man, this is how I look at how tan I am. Vitamin D, son. Natural deterrent of COVID.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I still think we're in a period of adjustment.
Figuring it out.
Yeah. I think we're still in a period of adjustment, and I think a lot of the stuff, the mandates and this and that they're already being dropped in a lot of places, right? But I feel we probably have another year.
I don't wear a mask anymore. Do you? Like, is it still a thing in Bay Area? Okay.
Yeah, I wear masks, and sometimes I walk into a place where I'm wearing a mask, and like not one person in the spot's wearing a mask, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm that comfortable with y'all yet, right? But I feel over time, that will lessen more.
Yeah. Well, Orange County, December, everybody was pretty good. I'm wearing mask, and then since then, I'm eating acai bowls, no mask. High-fiving everyone. Like, we're there already, right? It's like it's over.
I was at GDC, and I wasn't at the event, but I was in the area.
Yeah.
And I met up with people, and we had dinners and drinks and stuff, and hugged people and stuff, and hung out.
Oh, there you go.
But I didn't get COVID, right? But I didn't do it in the let me wade into GDC and and breathe all the free air in there. All of that.
Yeah. Next year, though. Not this year. Yeah, I didn't feel too comfortable this year to go either. Yeah. For that reason.
I had the option to work the floor and stuff like that. And I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that.
I'm not that committed, guys. Yeah, I hear you. But to walk back to the Actors Blizzard, this is the thing, man. So I'm kind of on the other side now, right? Where as a business guy, I'm kind of looking from that perspective a lot, and it feels like every week, man, there's always a reason for people to walk out. So it's very hard to kind of function as a business. Like you said, this is a still in process learning for both sides, and it seems like most of California, like you said, mandates are being lifted, and they're like, all right, I guess it's cool. And suddenly there's huge backlash, and they got to take 10 steps back. And here's the thing too, right? The industry as a whole, I would love to say, right, and I've been telling and saying this for the last 2 years, I would love to say that the industry as a whole have got our shit together, right? Remote working works 100% of the time, and everybody is just on top of their shit, right? That isn't true, right? What we're seeing is a lot of delays, a lot of people who are remote working for these AAA companies in particular, right? Indie guys are always, they're on top of their stuff. They know what to do. But, AAA guys in particular are in shambles, right? They don't know how to function. You have these producers running around saying that, I guess I got to produce something, and they're having a million meetings. I hear horror stories like they're monitoring that little Slack light, right? To make sure that if that light isn't turning red, that means you're not working, right? So they're like actually time sheeting that as part of like you're stealing from the company by not being by your computer. I'm hearing stories like that more and more frequently. The Great Resignation, because of these kind of bad habits, bad kind of eyes of Sauron that are happening. People are like, I have better options than this. Like, I don't need to be treated like a criminal. I'm a senior developer. So it's bad on both sides. Like, the shitty people are being shittier. Surprise, surprise. And the good people are kind of thrown out with the bathwater with these bad perpetrators that are abusing the time and the luxuries of time and money here. So overall, it's bad. That's what I'm
I would
getting.
even like. I would say some people
More people are
are. I
abusing
think it's.
this.
I think no. I think it's. I think having flexibility
Is
because
good.
you work at home.
Yeah.
Having flexibility in your work hours is fine.
Yeah.
The number one thing. It doesn't matter if my Slack light is on. It doesn't matter if I'm not at my desk or whatever.
Yeah.
What matters is, am I outputting the expected results, right? And however I want to do that, it should be, I should be allowed to, right? And some people think the only way to get that result is you must come back in the office, right? There's advantages to going back to the office. There's advantages to talking to people face to face, of course, right? And so like finding a way to encourage that while also allowing flexibility. A lot of companies are doing more hybrid approaches,
Yeah.
right? Which makes more sense, right? I was back in the office like during GEC, and it was great seeing people,
Yeah.
honestly.
It's
And
fun.
I'm the type of person where I'm like, I don't want to see nobody.
Anybody.
Like I'm
Yeah.
cool with not being in the office, but it was nice seeing them, right? Now, if it's like I have to see them every single day and I have to spend 2 hours of my day to get there and get back every single day, no. But if I have the flexibility to see
Of course.
them, that is advantageous. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So that's where I stand on it, right? And so I feel like when folks are just not here for the bull, and the whole Activision Blizzard thing, like I think is just an example. It's another example of some companies are like, yeah, you have to be vaccinated if you want to come into the office, right? Because there's other people here, there's all these risks. Like we can't allow that. You have to be vaccinated if you want to come to the office. You don't want to get vaccinated, don't come. You can work remotely. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, we'll do meetings and we'll live, right? I
Mhm.
think Activision Blizzard is saying just removing all the restrictions and stuff like that is just an example of them not really being people focused, right? And there weren't people focused when the harassment allegations were out there.
Mhm.
They were not people
It's
focused
not a good look. Yeah.
in how they treat their employees, and they continue not to be people focused. And so therefore the people are like, nah, we can't stand for this,
Mhm.
right? And the companies that are more people focused are the ones that will be more successful in the long run, especially with the younger generation that ain't here for the bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, I get it. Like, there's a lot of more people who are, like I said, I think the youngins are more empowered. We have the luxury of being at home a lot now. We know we value our time over salary or prestige or whatever the fact, right? And it is a employees market right now, right? We get to choose whatever jobs we want, and if you don't want us, we can go a click away to find that perfect job for us.
like another example of this is like I saw a recent interview. I want to call this out. I saw a recent interview with the founder of Black Girls Code. I don't know if you heard about Black Girls Code and how
Yes.
the founder is under investigation for creating a toxic work environment. And she was doing a recent interview, and she like low key was like, you know what, with the kids these days, I really should have watched how I was talking to them, right? So low key, she basically said these young kids that just can't take a strong leadership style. And I'm like, and I look back on how we came up and how we're taught, how we were managed, and it was bad then, but we just took it, right? We took the abuse then, and then now we become managers, and then we dish out the abuse on the folks underneath us, and now we're at a point in time where those people are just like, no, I'm not taking that. You know what I mean?
Is that a good thing or bad thing is what I'm asking.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing because it was trash when we went through it. It's trash today, right? But it's just the person that's receiving it is no longer taking.
Let me all right. Let me counter that because
I don't see anything wrong with that.
All right.
Some people will say, "Oh,"
and I'll tell you what's wrong with it after
you're
this.
just soft. You're soft. You need to boss up more. You need to get a thicker skin. Not everybody's the same. And also treating people like that is just like, it's just not right, you know?
Okay, I mean? Obviously right. There's extreme cases that are obvious, and of course you should treat people as equally as possible. But I do see this, right? Whenever the pendulum is swung too far on either side, it's always bad in other ways, right? It needs to always be balanced. Sure. The same way that I think, the people that are walking out has equal say, but has a good say on what they want to do. But as a business person, and or from the business perspective, right, if that employees still have no understanding of the business side of things and they just want what they want when they want it, right, and it doesn't exactly line up to the books, right, then you don't have a business with too many people walking out or whatever the heck. I will give you a clear example, right, when empowerment needs to be balanced. And right now I feel like it's really swung in one's way, and I'm already hearing stories that it can go wrong really fast. Here's the story, right? So I have a friend who works at a very well-known visual effects studio, right? Very well-known. Basically every movie goes through the studio. I won't name it, but think about it. There's like five of them. Yeah, there's a 5, right? All right. So he's a lead, right? He's a lead at that place. And fresh out of school, students were under his team, his project, right? Mm-hmm. And he would be finding himself getting into these meetings, telling them what to do, right? In a very nice way, and it's a very normal way, right? Hey, these are the things you need to do, as you would from a lead to a junior, right? And days would pass, and the things that's being asked wasn't being delivered, and it got to a point where his supervisor pulled him aside and say, what is going on? It's delaying all these things. What's going on? So as a good lead, he stepped up and said, hey, it's my fault. The project's under me. I'll take care of it. And so he did. And what he did after that, he pulled the juniors aside and say, hey, I know I tried to talk to you guys about this, but you can't let things kind of slip past like this because it's unprofessional, right? You have to be able to handle your responsibilities. That's the expectation of your role. Mm-hmm. These 2 juniors went around to HR to complain that they were being harassed, that they were being condescendingly spoken to, and that this was harassment, right? Yeah. And so we're in a climate where any signs of possible PR nightmares are just unacceptable, right? It's too much to play with. So they couldn't straight up fire the guy, right? Mm. So what they did was, instead of rectifying the situation, let me finish. The juniors who didn't do their jobs, right, their responsibility, but because we're in a climate where employees are so empowered now that employers can't do anything even if the job isn't performed. So what happened to this lead was that he got removed from the project because they couldn't straight up fire him, right? That's another lawsuit that they can't handle. Mm-hmm. And the juniors stayed and continued on the project, even though he took the hit on their behalf.
I'll say
So
this.
say this. Tell
I'll
me what
just
you think about that.
I'll
It's
just
happening.
what I think about that is we were not there. That's
Okay.
what I think, right? So you have no idea how your friend talked to them. You know what I
Bro,
mean?
my friend
So
is
far.
the nicest
I'm
mofo
not saying
ever, bro.
I'm not saying that he's not
But
nice.
this is where it is now. Like, how do you talk to a
I'm
junior
not saying that at
without
all,
being
right? But
condescending now,
but
right?
I'll say that we
Where's the
do,
line?
like, especially as a lead myself, right, or
Yeah.
as a leader or whatever you want to call it. We are taught, one of the things we're taught is like how to give feedback,
Yeah.
right, and how to do it in a way where the person receiving it actually receives it, right.
Yeah.
And yes, we're in a climate where you have to be careful with how
Yeah.
you speak to people, right, and you have to go, you can't just be if it's you're not delivering something and the expectation role is this, like, you just have to, you really have to frame it in a way of like, this is what happened, right, this a factual thing happened, this is a factual thing that has happened,
Yeah.
and this is the impact of that factual thing, and this is how we improve in the future. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And I think, like, if you really approach it in a way of like really the focus on how you deliver that feedback to people, you won't get them running to HR.
Okay, let me play your supervisor. Hey, Ray, can I talk to you for a second? I say, what's up, man? Hey, I heard you were talking to your junior, and they came to complain. It's like, what's the difference here? Oh, I talked to him really respectfully. Well, that's not what we heard. They felt like they were being undermined. They felt like they were feeling a certain way, right?
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have to remove you from that project, all right, and then to separate you two. Wouldn't that be a mother effing pissed off moment for you? Because that is, as my friend said, that's what happened, right? And it's crazy because I can see that happening in this type of climate to avoid any PR nightmare.
Well, first of all, like, the company doing that,
Yeah.
like, one is, but okay, VFX industry is notorious about
For harassment, yeah.
just grinding people to dust, right, and they're
Yep.
and harassing them, right. So it's like, so that's a notorious thing, right. But the company didn't really go about that the right way either. You know what I
No.
mean? Company should investigate that. Be like, yo, what exactly did you say? You
Yeah.
know, oh, okay, we feel that's okay, or come down with some sort of agreement of, or some sort of judgment on, was it okay, was it not okay, this is how we improve, and then communicate that to everybody, right. But instead, what the company does, it goes, oh, this person says they can't work with you, so we're just gonna shuffle the problem around. Now, if your friend was like a real abuser and harasser, now he's just shuffled to a different project to go and abuse and harass other people now, right.
Yeah.
And so the company's not really solving the problem at all, and
Yeah.
then just perpetuating it, actually, right,
If
it's
there was a
actually,
problem.
if it was actually a real problem, right.
But there isn't.
And so, but instead they're just so afraid. Yeah, and
But that's where the climate. That's the danger of what
it's
this is.
understandable to be afraid, but you still got to do the right thing. You know what I mean? And like, yeah.
But we're just at a point where the risk is too
junior,
high. Yeah.
If you fire a junior to be like, oh, you're firing me because I complained, that's a lawsuit. You fire the other guy, he's like, you're firing me for no good reason just because somebody said something about me, that's a lawsuit. Right. So the company,
This is what I'm saying. It's very hard to run a business.
The company really should approach it by saying, we talked to him. He said this. You're saying this is a case of, we weren't there. There's two people saying different things. Right. What do you need from us to solve? Like, really approach it in a transparent way where you could try to mend or moderate that discussion.
This is the problem, bro. This is what I'm saying, man.
But
we're way past that point where cancel culture. This is where cancel culture is very dangerous now.
I feel that's just a cop out for people that still want to be assholes, right? And it's true.
Man. It's true,
sure. Right? Like, society changes, right? Yeah. Society's ever changing, always evolving, right? And you have to evolve and change with it. Right, that it was acceptable for certain things to be true in the United States just in 1950s or 1960s, right? And over time, that became unfashionable, right? So over like just we're in a time where it's unfashionable to treat your workers any sort of way, right? Because they have options and opportunities. So they're gonna say, fuck all y'all,
Yeah.
right? And
Well,
even if you agree that they're a little bit thin skinned, or they're a little soft, or they're not as hard as you used to be back in the day,
yeah.
right? You you also have to accept that that is just how it is, right? And then how do you work in that new environment, right? And some people are just like, screw that, I don't want to change. I don't want to change how I work in that environment. Screw all that. Well, then you're gonna have problems. You know what I mean? So you have to be mindful of that. I was literally just talking about this with some friends, like some other old jaded people,
Yeah.
and it was the same thing. And it's like, yeah, you do have to be careful with what you say to people. Yes, right?
Okay.
Because it's like we're in a heightened
We're in a heightened
we're
environment
in a heightened
that's
environment
manifesting itself
where
on live television.
certain people also help stir up that heightened environment too through their Twitter accounts and things like that, right?
But bro, like we're
Um,
getting to a point where people can smack each other on TV for like doing a light insult, right?
Yo, that's crazy. That's crazy, right? So yeah. I
And he was being applauded because that was
yeah,
being live
yeah.
canceled, man. That's
But
live canceling. It's
no,
manifesting in very
here's
scary ways here.
here's the
Yeah.
number one thing you have to understand. Here's the number one thing you
Yeah.
have to understand. Just because you were able to do and say whatever the fuck you wanted and nobody slapped you up in your face
Yeah.
does not mean you're not going to have a time when somebody comes up and slaps you in your face, right? And because sometimes what you do has consequences, right? I actually think that Will Smith should not be slapping people in the face. I think
Yeah.
that is wrong for any reason,
Yeah.
right? But I could also understand when your black wife gives you a look, you gotta go up and handle the business, right? So I understand that too, right? At the same time, right? I think all the things could be true at once, right? I think it's just a joke. You should relax.
Yeah.
I can understand why you want to slap a man, and then I also think
Ultimate
that,
disrespect.
and also I think when you
That's ultimate.
when,
That is death.
I
You
also
chose
think
death.
when you say things about people, the chances
Yeah.
that you get slapped in the face is high, right? Like, you know what I mean, right? So like I think all three of those things are true at once. You know what I mean? And they're all conflict with each other. And it's okay that you can feel that way about these distinct things, right? Some people just think it has to be something, it has to be black and white. You either have to agree that it's just a joke and nobody should be getting slapped, or you're totally like, yeah, you gotta protect your wife and slap this man for anything he says, right? And the truth is really it's all of those things are true at the same time.
Some things more truer than others. They can all be true,
No,
but
they're all true at the same time. You can see, you said something about my wife, I'm gonna slap you. If someone says something about my wife, I probably will fight you, right? Even
yeah.
if it's in a
On
joking
live television
environment.
in front of everyone.
Yeah, yeah. But me
But
being
yeah,
me, I wouldn't get up in live television and slap you because I don't think it's
yeah,
right
you
for
do it in
me
the
to be handled.
backstage where he can
Yeah,
slap
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Like clearly, there was an understanding that Chris Rock couldn't and
Yeah.
wouldn't do anything to kind of
Just, be-
retaliate.
just
Yeah,
just because these days people want to cry about cancel culture and things like that. It's just because the people that normally used to be the punching bags are punching back.
yeah,
That's it. And people are uncomfortable with people punching back, right? And Activision Blizzard are uncomfortable with the
yeah. I'm
workers
not. Let me kind of be clear.
unionizing,
Like
right?
Activision Blizzard is probably not in
Yeah,
the best place right now to defend on
yeah,
anything.
yeah. But
Right.
I'm
This is
just
a
I'm
long
just
time
laying I'm just
coming.
laying I'm just
Yeah,
laying out for you, right? And
yeah,
now that people that are workers have a voice and can go to HR and complain about how they're feeling, people are like, this is crazy. I could just do whatever the fuck I wanted before, and now actually have to watch what I say. Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah, you do have to watch what you say now. Right?
I'm just
Um,
afraid that
yeah.
once it swings too far on one side, that the
What's gonna happen?
thing, the marriage, will crumble. Right? Obviously, workers. There's workers and there's people that run the company. Right? There's two different uh, types that need to work together to make it function. Right? So if it's all about workers and what they need and what makes them comfortable, it doesn't necessarily mean the business itself can function. If everybody wants like higher salary all at once, if everybody is walking out on like deadline days just because they feel like it and expect their jobs back.
In this day and age, businesses have to prepare for that. They have to worry about how they treat their employees. They have to be competitive with other companies that will treat their employees better. They have to. Otherwise, they will die. Right. And you have to evolve and change with the times, or else you will die. Yes. Right. And that's just how it works.
Dude, we're going to end up just playing Minecraft all day, man. This is what you're saying. All these companies are really going to fall apart. Everyone's falling apart, man, left and right.
No, you can see I feel a way about this, right? But because it's just so it's
a lot of bullshit that's been happening for sure.
No, it's not logical, right? It's not. People are like, man, I used to be able to say whatever I wanted and people would just take it. Now there's actually consequences for the things I say. Oh my God, this is not right. And it's like, well, is it? Is it not right? Really? You think so?
We'll find out.
And the people that complain the most, I feel, about it are the people that are not even remotely affected by it.
Right? The people who are abusing it the most. Or
no,
the people
complain about it the most. Like at the end of the day, it's like, oh man, yeah, that thing happened, and then like man, I'm still like I'm wiping my tears with my $100 bill still. You know what I mean? Like somebody asked, you just said Chris Rock getting slapped is like cancel culture, like live cancel culture, right?
Yeah.
Somebody asked his brother, like, how's Chris Rock doing? And he was like, still rich. You know what I mean? Right? So like
he's getting richer. Yeah. There's definitely I will say this. You said all things are true, but one is definitely more in the right than the other, right? Will Smith is being canceled on all his projects. No one wants to touch him. He's toxic right now, right? All his biopic, all his plans that was in the works have been pulled, right? Chris Rock, on the other hand, everybody's buying his ticket and supporting him. So, in the end, I don't know who's still defending Will Smith, right? Because even Will Smith apologized, right?
There's a lot of people still defending.
Which is crazy to me, right? Because here, if you, bro, I can. Here's the thing, man. If you're gonna let anyone like condone me slapping anybody, and I'm stronger than most, right? I will create such a havoc. Will you want to go back to no slapping again? This is the problem, right? It goes both ways. It's not just the weak slapping the rich or the strong. The strong can slap just as hard if you want to play that way. And it's back to chaos, man. It's back to the primitive days.
No, I'll say this.
Anarchy. Yeah.
I'll say this, right? You say you don't get it, you don't understand, right?
Get smarter with words.
Certain people understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll just put it that way.
Of course.
Right? Certain people understand, right?
Okay.
They may not agree. Yeah. And there's a difference, right? There's a difference between agreeing that, like, you should just slap the shit out of somebody, right? No, right? Most people don't agree with that, but they understand.
I understand.
Right? And
wasn't there a Chris Rock joke about that? About like he was talking about never hit women or something, and he was saying that it's like, I would never hit a woman, but I understand for certain. Like, that's his own joke. I don't condone it, by the way. It's just a joke. It's not even mine. But I just hope that in the end that there's a balance, right? And here's the thing, man. Like, there's a huge inequality with women pay and all this stuff, right? And I think the number one argument with, and where people are, the term feminist is very tough for a lot of people to, the definition, it feels like is different. Where it used to be like more equal rights, right? But now some people define it as women having more rights than men sometimes, right? Some people Hey, I've talked to people, man.
Who's
Like
some people? Who are these people you're talking
bro, I have a friend. Let's just say a friend, right? And she was like, "Women can do anything better than men." It's like, really? Can't we just be balanced and equal? You know, like maybe there's some things that men do better and women do better. You know, can't we be in that range? She's like, "No, women can do everything better than men." It's like, all right, now you're just swinging too far, right? Like these are things that are in all these kind of conversations. It's always like uh because of how wrong they were treated, right? They feel like the extreme version is to make up for all that wrong. And I don't know how I feel about that, because I feel like, well, we're just causing problems for different people now. I don't think that's
I mean, I think
the correct way to approach it.
I think generally those extremists, you don't actually, they don't actually matter.
Okay.
Right? They don't actually show up in any sort of large number to really move the needle anywhere, right? I believe that about most extremist views, honestly.
Yeah.
Right. But then also at the same time, we are basically just a collection of all the things that have happened to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you build certain views based on
I just want to get to a place to understanding for everybody.
Yeah. Right.
So don't walk out on me before we talk is all I'm saying. It's Friday. I don't agree with what you're saying. I'm out. It's like, Gil, we got a deadline. It's like, I'm out. It's like, I can see it being very dangerous very soon. I was like, hey, man, if you don't do this thing, we don't get paid. That means you don't get paid. That means this whole thing's collapse. It's like, I'm cool. I can go to another place. It's like, all right.
Yeah, man, that's perfectly fine.
How many big places are left? I mean, the industry is not that big. I'm just afraid that there's just
like, but don't you already argue? You argue the other way about this. You always argue that if there's some sort of deadline that the company hinges on, right, you shouldn't be working up until the nth hour.
It should never be the nth hour. I always feel like, it's misplanned, right? Because, the creatives aren't involved. But I feel also there's also so many factors nowadays that can hinder a deadline outside of just working it, right? Now you got to worry about everything.
You got to worry about like paternity leave and maternity leave and stuff. Like, how dare they?
People walking out just because someone sneezed funny, right?
How dare they go home and like put their kids to bed and eat dinner at home? And
hey, man, this podcast was, started because of that. But like, I'm starting to see the extreme here. That's what I'm afraid of, man. I'm like, all right, now we're just going too far in workers' right. I hear stories about the junior not, taking directions and feeling empowered because they have the power now. Like, that scares me. Because now we're leads and seniors. It's like, all right, how do you function as a studio if regular hierarchy is not gonna work? There's no respect, right? They want respect from the low side, but there's also a respect for seniority too, right? By experience, not respect as like I demand it, more like I've been around the industry.
No, you're saying you're getting real close. You're getting real close.
I'm not there yet. I will say this. I will say, there is experience, and I feel like that kind of get thrown out a lot.
Here's the crazy thing. I always find that weird. I always find that weird, right? Because like in the position I am in now, I enter conversations, and people change up, or change,
what do you mean? What do you mean?
Or change how they act. Like all of a sudden now it's like, oh yeah, okay, I see your point. Or all of a sudden they're really quiet.
They're not as expressive as they would be.
Yeah, and it's like.
Do you feel like they're withholding information until you leave, or they're gonna go your way just because you're around?
No, it's just like all the bosses here. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, you are the boss guy now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm trying not
to be that guy.
Yeah, and I want of course, I want them to listen to my ideas and things like that, right? But like, I don't necessarily I want them to respect me where they don't treat me like garbage, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want them to respect me in a way that anything I say
to exclude you.
Yeah, anything I say is the right thing always, right? Like, I will not say the right thing all the time. I will make a mistake, a lot of times. So I'm looking for feedback, right? Even if it's a junior, it's a collaboration, right? You may
Yeah.
have an idea of how somebody wants to do a thing. You can point them in the right direction, right? But the way they learn is for them to kind of experience it, right? And depending on their junior level, right?
Right.
If they're super junior, then maybe kind of hold
Take
their
us
hand,
take what I
hold their
say.
hand in the right direction. And if they're a little bit less junior, help them figure it out on their own, and then they'll learn and grow rather than you just doing it for them, right? And you have to find the right mix, right? But I usually don't use the word, you have to have respect for for my experience, right?
No, but
No,
it's all right.
no,
This is coming from the Asian
even
culture, right? There's a senior.
even without your experience, you should be able
Yeah.
to also get your point across, right? In a way that anybody will believe it, no matter what your position
Hey,
is.
man, this is me personally recalling my own experience as a
Yeah,
junior, right? I
yeah.
was young and hot-headed back then, right?
Mm,
I
yeah,
felt like I knew everything,
of course.
more than my years can explain, right?
Yeah,
And oftentimes I didn't, approach things as much wisdom as I do now, right? This is
sure.
only because time had passed and
Yeah,
I have learned, and because I was surrounded by great leads and leadership that were patient with me to kind
yeah.
of catch me up on things, right? But if you put that guy in this day and age, right, I can see myself wreaking havoc. Man, you talk to a guy, I never probably told you. I started a mob, right, at a PS launch, PS3 launch, right? It's like it started as 10 and it ended up 500 people. And I single handedly created this mob. And that power was very dangerous. Yeah, I'll tell you sometime, but I felt that. And I feel like we're at a time where if I put my 20-year-old self in this environment with this much power, all right, I can do very bad things very quickly. Um, because it's I don't know if you remember. Maybe you were different. You were more willing and understanding, but I wasn't, man. I was really impatient, and if I didn't get my way, I would force my way. Um, but thankfully, I didn't take it too far, and I didn't have the tools and instruments at my reach to make
Yeah.
those type of things happen. This is what I'm afraid of. Like youngins, the youth are so empowered now, and they know, dude, within a tweet they can cancel people as long as a lot of their friends can get in on that, right?
No, no.
I
Yo,
just don't
I would
think it's
say,
the right look.
I'll say literally just today, I was talking to somebody who's
Yeah,
young, straight up, like relatively new out of school,
yeah,
and they were talking about how, the process of finding a place to work. They wanted to get into the game industry, but decided to not work at a game development company because the stories they hear of crunch and the unrealistic
scaring them away. Yeah,
working hours, right? And I found it really interesting
yeah.
that that we are in an age of the information about how horrible the video game industry is with work-life balance and all that kind of stuff
Yeah,
is factoring into how
decisions are made.
these
Yeah.
kids are making their decisions for their career. Where like when it was me, I was just like, yo, I want to make
So
video
whatever
games.
I can get. Yeah,
Yeah, and those guys were like here's $2. And I was like, thank you for the $2, sir.
yeah,
And I'll work 40 hours. Just today. I'll work more than the hours that are in the day. You know what I mean? Right? Like I was ready to go, and they exploited it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And they took advantage of it.
yeah.
Right. And that doesn't mean back then it was right. You
I
know what
don't
I
think
mean?
it was all wrong.
Right.
This is what I'm saying, though.
Right. It doesn't mean it
Mr.
was right.
Mr. Unity Director, all right? Like
I-
you make
I
it
think
sound
he
like
was-
this wasn't part of
No,
what
and
made you, right?
I think it did definitely made me the person I am today, of course,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
But I think we're in an environment now where there's more information,
Yeah.
right? I think that like when we were coming up, the internet was like on the amount of information you could get was there, but it's nowhere on the level that it is today, right? And so like society has changed, and
Society have changed.
yeah,
And I think the amount of cons still is the same as benefits, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
of course we went through shit. We had to work extra hard. We got to do crunch to kind of,
Yeah.
be in a competition mode. I feel like we're in an age where youth uh, are expecting, rewards without challenges. Like, that's where I'm afraid of. Where I feel, today's youth can easily not work as hard for what they need or what they want. Right. I do see that side of it. If we're talking about different generations, I don't see this generation working as hard. They
I
just want, to be famous on YouTube or whatever the case without
is
much
that not
effort.
being
That's
famous
not
on
how it works. But
being
like,
famous on YouTube is no effort?
no. What I'm saying is, of every Jake Paul, right? Because it looks
Yeah.
easy, right? But the truth is, these are really savvy business guys that
YouTube
made it to
friendly
top.
hard, yeah.
But yeah, but the millions that try are the general public. And I feel because of these kids going in the industry expecting like, hey, I don't need to work hard. I can get what I want. I can move up. I'll do what I want. Hey, I don't want to do that at Pete. That's a stupid idea. What are you gonna say to me, right? Oh, okay, you're old, but I'm more relevant. This is the attitude I feel when one side is feeling too justified, right? And this was, our issue with corporal management because they are the big guns, right? We can't challenge them, and we have repercussions if we do challenge them. It can result into us being blacklisted, right? That's why we were so afraid to talk back. But now, if the youngins, I feel it's reversed. If we don't appease the youth, if we don't appease these juniors, then we have a bad PR situation, right? And we're betting to me, it's the exact same story on the other side. This is what I'm afraid of, right? And I don't feel like the youth, yeah, it is great that, and I get it too, because of the podcast, a lot of youth, and in a way I feel half and half, right? A lot of people come up to me and talk like, hey, because of your podcast, I understand what the game industry is like. I am, afraid of all these things. Maybe I shouldn't do with games. I was like, oh man, I don't really want you to scare you away from the game industry. Obviously, there's great things about it. And there are other things. It's just to inform you, to make sure that if you smell bullshit, to be deterring you from bullshit. But I don't want to deter you completely away from the industry because, there are good places there if you look for it. Right. Yeah. So I feel kind of like half and half when these type of, emails or in-person conversations are happening. But, as we're turning away good people from the industry, it doesn't really fix the issues that we're having now. I do think I agree with you with the times. Things are changing, some for the good, some for the bad, right? That's how I honestly feel about it. Because I do.
That's just change, right?
It is change.
For the bad.
I do, and I hope that overall, yeah, maybe the next generation will take the industry and better and greater innovations that I even thought of. But right now, I'm feeling all right. There's a lot of lazy youths who want things now, right, without working hard for it, and then any challenge they get from a supervisor is harassment, right? So I'm just really afraid that line is so blurred and not defined on what is harassment and what is being just experienced, just showing you the way in a nice way, even a nice way, right? I feel like anything that challenges you can be problematic. And so we're not going to even navigate through that, right? It was just like, whatever you say, you can do this if you want, but
the last thing I'll say on this, because we're beating the dead horse, is let me know when the thing that you're afraid of becomes a real thing, right?
Okay.
Because there's no example of what you're afraid of.
Okay. I have one example. I shared it. I think I shared it with my friend at this visual effects company. I mean, that happened.
I mean, that's not an example of pendulum swinging too far. I think that's just an example of the company not really mediating the issue very well, quite frankly.
Okay.
Right. And like I said too, like I feel everybody. I didn't say this before, but I'll say it now.
Yeah.
I feel the only thing everybody wants at the end of the day and I mean everybody, is that they just want to feel heard.
Yeah.
Right. I've had a lot of conversations that go left, right, when it's a whole lot of like misunderstandings, right? People talking past each other or just not really understanding the other
Not
person's
listening.
viewpoint, not listening, right? And when you really take the time to listen to somebody and be like, yo, this is what I'm saying. How do you feel about that? This is the impact of this thing. Checking that they understand what you're saying, hearing them repeat back what you said to them, right? Um, that is a good way of making sure that these issues don't, no matter if it's a youth, a soft-skinned youth, or grizzled veteran,
Yeah.
that is a surefire way of making sure that it doesn't go left.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people out there in positions of management and power, right, that just don't know how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Properly. Right. So.
Well, you guys here first. Just listen to each other. And
No, seriously, I've had so many conversations where I just repeat what the person said back. So you said this, you said that, you said this.
Oh yeah, that's what I do in interviews, dude.
Yeah, and they're like, no, that's not it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then you revise what they said, and they're like, yeah, that's it. Okay, cool. Right. So they they can't say that you were not listening to them or hear them. Right.
My trick is the same way I go on dates. Right, when I do interviews, it's like if you get the other person talking more than you, they'll think it's a good interview. And it's always worked 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. I would just end up saying nothing, and they end up saying, hey, that's a pretty cool guy, and they just spent the whole time talking, right? Mm-hmm. So I think in the end, people, it's a balance, right? If you're dealing with someone who wants to talk more, you just listen more. If you still want to do 50-50, great, right? I mean, that's the ideal. Yeah. But overall, our industry is a lot healthier, I believe, right? It's a bigger industry than 10 years ago in many ways. You know, we have the metaverse, we have Facebook, we have Google. We have so many different ways we can use our knowledge in different industries now. More youth than ever entering the game industry. More talent than we had because of more schooling and availability and knowledge. Not just knowledge itself, but in actual about the industry itself, you know, coming in, knowing what they're getting into. And hopefully, what I'm hoping is a lot of these people coming in, and maybe that's what's happening, right? They're trying to change the norm of like, we don't take this bullshit anymore, and kind of flipping the tables. And hopefully, too, we're just in a area of discovery for both sides, right? And once this is blown over, then we have a new structure that it is in place that both sides agree on, and it becomes a model for other companies. And I hate to say it, man, I think Activision Blizzard is the one that's gonna have to figure this out for everybody. You know, the only one that's really happy about all this is Riot. Is like, holy crap. The minute, the second night, we thought we were in trouble. Thank God Activision Blizzard around the corner. It's like constantly in the news now about every little thing. So it's crazy. I didn't think that this much would happen in the last 5 years as it did. It progressed pretty fast.
I definitely think the union talk progressed real fast.
Yeah.
It was
a light switch moment. Yeah.
A year or two ago, people started talking about. We've been talking about union forever.
Yeah, we were talking about
a year or two ago. It was like, we're gonna do a union. And I was like, yeah, good luck with that. Yeah. And unions are starting to kind of sprout out, and there's walkouts and strikes, all sorts of things going on. I'm like, oh, yo, that's crazy. You know.
Yeah. 5-6 years ago, we were doing Glassdoor Confessions, and we thought we were being sly and sneaky about it, and now it's like on the front page every day. It's like, wow. Times are changing. It's not like you can't get fired over that anymore. Whistleblowing and all that stuff.
I mean, you probably can still get fired over it. But...
Not as hard. Yeah. You just got to get like 10 people around you to walk out, and you'll be good. Well, you guys, as always, leave your opinions. Discord, Twitter, whatever the fact. You can find Ray at, what's your Twitter handle?
Wadaras on Twitter, WADARASS.
All right, and you can find me at Game Dev Unchained. But let us know your thoughts as always. It's always interesting. I go in here with a few topics, but we go off tangent. Maybe you. And it'll be interesting, man. I think hopefully one day, like, people can just cut my opinions against myself because I'm changing all the time. I'm trying to understand both sides. I think that's the best to kind of find equal grounding to move forward
What
with.
it is, what it is Brandon is a dude that owns a company, and so therefore he's just thinking about his company.
The bottom
That's how
line.
it works. That's usually how it works, right?
That's usually how it works. The switch,
before
right?
you own a company, you're like, fuck those guys, and then you
Yeah.
own one, you're like, oh,
Yeah, I am those guys. Yeah.
you're like, oh, now I'm afraid. I'm afraid of this now. Yeah.
It's true, man. I am starting to be that way because I'm like trying to see it. It's like, well, if I hire someone, and suddenly they throw all these rights at me, how do I function as a company, within seconds?
You're like, the only way to function is to exploit the labor. I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, well, overall, I feel like I am being nice and clean, right? But like I'm hearing stories like my friend who is a nice guy, right?
Yeah.
Through and through, right? And he's getting treated in this way because companies are so afraid of the consequences. I mean, that's really what it is. I agree with you. They should have done better, but the risk is so high now where you can't take chances, and that's what I'm afraid of. Is not get a fear
That's the
justice,
coward's way. That's the coward's way out, man. You gotta figure out how to act,
navigate it.
how to move.
Well, hopefully next month we have better news. Uh, I keep hating seeing like non-game developers making a lot of money while we sit here talking about it. It's like, wow, this guy hacked for 2 days and then had $600 million. Oh my god, wrong business every time.
You don't need the 600, man. You don't need the 600. You just figure out how much you need, and then just go get your goals, man. That's it.
Yeah, give me two of those. Two of those will be good.